shocking truth. NASA's Apollo mission found a giant pyramid at 3 a.m., what they won't tell you. In the stillness of the night, NASA astronauts stumbled upon something extraordinary, something that defied all logic. An enormous pyramid, towering and glimmering, its vast structure etched into the desolate lunar landscape. No ordinary rock formation, this was a massive enigma, pulsating with an energy that sent shivers down their spines. How had no one seen this before? What secrets lay within its depths? The moon, so familiar, suddenly felt alien and incredibly sinister. The astronauts, their hearts racing, peered out through the glass of their capsule. They could hardly breathe, the weight of what they might uncover pressed heavily on their chests. Every surface of the pyramid was smooth, almost like glass, reflecting the stars in eerie patterns. They felt watched, a troubling sensation that tightened the throat like a vice. A low hum echoed through the cabin, resonating with an unnatural rhythm, as if the very air around them was charged with anticipation. Just then, one of them spotted a shimmering light flickering at the entrance of the pyramid. Could there be life beyond it? The thought rushed through their minds like wildfire. They had ventured months into space, yet here they were, frozen at the edge of a cosmic breakthrough. A world of twisted potential unfolded before them, where history collided with science fiction. Were they about to become the first witnesses to an otherworldly truth, or were they stepping into a trap laid by forces unknown? Suddenly, an alarm blared. It struck them like a bolt of lightning, forcing them back to reality. They knew they must decide, explore the uncharted mystery, or retreat to safety. Before they could even process their fear, it hit them. The mission back home had increasingly been shrouded in secrecy. Were they pawns in a game much larger than they realized? The gravity of their discovery pulled them down, sinking deeper into uncertainty. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the astronauts prepared to make their choice, the pyramid loomed larger, almost breathing with anticipation. The flickering light beckoned them closer. What awaited them inside? An unimaginable thrill mixed with a gut-wrenching fear. Would they be heroes, or would they vanish into the abyss of the unknown? The questions swirled within them like a whirlwind, but one thing was clear. Whatever was about to unfold beneath the cold lunar surface would change everything. With hearts pounding like war drums, the astronauts made their decision. They'd come this far, pushed their limits more than they ever imagined. They could not turn back now. The eerie glow of the pyramid felt like both an invitation and a warning. Strapped into their suits, they exchanged nervous glances. The excitement of discovery wrestled with the encroaching dread. They maneuvered the capsule toward the glowing entrance, the light pulsating in a rhythmic cadence, as if urging them into its depths. As they touched down, the hum intensified, vibrating through the very structure of their craft. It was relentless, echoing through the cabin, mingling with the sound of their rushed breaths. Sliding open the hatch, the astronauts stepped into a completely alien world. The ambience changed at once. The air, though stagnant, felt electric, buzzing with the unknown. Shadows danced upon every surface, distorting reality in ways they had never thought possible. The entrance loomed higher, an archway of glossy stone that seemed to drink in the light around it. They moved forward slowly, their boots crunching softly against the surreal ground, eyes widening at the intricate engravings carved into the walls. Hieroglyphs? Or something entirely unrecognizable? Every symbol seemed to pulse against their minds, begging them to take notice, whispering secrets lost to time. "Look at this!" one astronaut shouted, pointing upwards. Shadows formed shapes, flickering against the walls like restless spirits. What were they trying to convey? Suddenly, the whirring stopped. Silence wrapped around them like a cold blanket. Every confidence they had dissipated, replaced by a bone-deep fear of being unmoored from reality. They could feel it again, the sensation of being observed. A shifting in the shadows. A flicker of movement just beyond their line of sight. They were not alone. The sudden roar of their comms crackled to life. Return immediately. Abandon the mission. A voice barked through the static, frantic and demanding. Panic surged through their veins. Who had issued that command? The terse tone shattered the silence, but left only confusion in its wake. Do we go back? We're this close. Another astronaut argued. Are we really prepared for what is hidden inside this thing? Another voice chimed in, wavering with uncertainty. The air thickened, shimmering with energy as if the pyramid itself was alive and listening. Then, from within the heart of the pyramid, a blinding flash exploded, lighting the chamber entirely. The astronauts shielded their eyes, but not before glimpsing a truth that would shake them to their course. Figures cloaked in shadows glided forward, almost ethereal in presence. Were they human? Alien? Fear surged anew among them, every instinct screaming for them to flee. But deep-rooted curiosity compelled their feet to stay glued to the lunar dust floor. What if they were about to uncover a truth that would redefine humanity? Just as quickly as it started, the flash vanished, leaving behind an echo of dread. One astronaut dared to whisper into the enveloping quiet, "What have we awoken?" The other three blinked at the poised darkness before them. Would they push deeper into the enigmatic past hidden within the pyramid? Or would they be trapped in a web of unimaginable horror? As they stood at the precipice of revelation, something deep inside the pyramid began to shake. Earth tremors of an apocalyptic nature? Time seemed to grind to a halt, and the air crackled in anticipation. What would emerge next? And the question loomed like a monolith over them. Would they unravel the secrets of the universe, or become yet another mystery buried in the dark? The tremors intensified, sending ripples through the cool, stagnant air of the pyramid. The astronauts exchanged frantic glances, a mix of eagerness and terror etched on their faces. Was this the end of their exploration, or the beginning of their nightmare? The shadows around them seemed to pulse in rhythm with the seismic shifts, alive and restless. "We have to move," Sarah, the mission commander, urged as she stepped forward, her voice barely rising above the thrumming energy. "We need to see what is happening." Reluctantly, the team followed her lead, their hearts racing as they ventured closer to the source of the disturbance. Each step felt heavier, as if an unseen weight was pressing down on them. The walls, covered in ancient markings, seemed to whisper in a language they could almost understand, a warning, or perhaps a beckoning. What if this is a bad idea? John, the youngest astronaut, stammered, glancing over his shoulder. The feeling of being watched had only grown since entering the pyramid. It clung to him like a dark cloak. "Bad ideas sometimes yield the greatest discoveries," Sarah shot back, though her tone was laced with uncertainty. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices that rattled inside their minds, mixing confusion with undeniable allure. Suddenly, the ground shuddered again, more violently this time. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling, causing John to stumble back against the wall. "Stay together," Jess called out, grasping John's arm. The fear in her eyes mirrored the panic rising in each of them. Then, just as quickly, the tremor ceased, leaving behind an oppressive silence that felt suffocating. In its wake emerged a glow from deeper within the pyramid, a bright, beckoning light swirling with colors they had never seen. It danced like fireflies in a summer night, drawing them onward against their better judgment. "Do you see that?" John asked, his voice trembling. In the heart of the light, outlines of the shadowy figures began to take shape once again, more defined this time. They hovered, suspended in the vibrant colors, their forms glistening like water under the sun. Human-like, yet undeniably otherworldly. "What do they want?" Jess whispered, clutching John's arm tighter, her fear palpable. Without warning, the figures began to move closer, the air thickening with tension. The astronauts could feel an energy pulsing around them, vibrating in their bones. It felt ancient and wise, but also threatening. Sarah stepped forward, compelled by a force she couldn't comprehend. I have to communicate with them. Maybe they hold the key to understanding this place. But before she could take another step, the whispering escalated to a deafening roar, filling the chamber as if the very walls were alive with sound. The figures reached out, arms elongated, their intentions unclear. The astronauts had come seeking answers, yet now they found themselves teetering on the brink of revelation and ruin. Should they engage or flee? As the glowing hands inched toward them, Sarah felt a rush and urge to understand, to connect. "We can't just ignore them," she shouted over the noise. "They could be our salvation." In that instant, the overriding question pulsated through the air. What if the truth they sought threatened to unravel everything they knew? Just as Sarah reached out, the glowing figures stopped, their hands sparking with energy that crackled in the tense air. The silence was deafening, pressing in, waiting for a response. In that heartbeat, a single thought echoed through her mind with haunting clarity. What if they were not meant to find this place at all? And just as quickly, the light dimmed, shadows swirling aggressively, leaving the astronauts in a darkness deeper than before. As they stood paralyzed in the void, the walls began to whisper again, this time a warning they might never comprehend. What were the consequences of uncovering this hidden truth? And would they survive long enough to learn what dwelled in the depths of the pyramid? The darkness was thick, wrapping around them like a suffocating shroud. The whispers had quieted, yet the atmosphere crackled with electric tension. Each astronaut stood frozen, their breaths shallow, hearts pounding like war drums in their chests. Sarah blinked, trying to adjust to the absence of light. She felt a tightness in her throat, a cold swirl of dread threatening to swallow her whole. "What just happened?" she muttered, her pulse racing still. "Did we lose them?" John's voice quivered, a mixture of relief and fear. The glow had been mesmerizing, but now it felt like a distant memory, a mirage that had lured them into a trap. "Maybe we should go back," Jess suggested, casting uneasy eyes around the darkened chamber. The silence seemed to press against her, pushing her toward panic. "Nobody should be here." "No one, or nothing," a voice drifted through the shadows. The astronauts froze, their limbs tingling with a primal instinct to flee. The hair on the back of Sarah's neck stood on end. She strained to listen, heart racing in anticipation of what would come next. Suddenly, the pyramid's walls began to shimmer, a faint glow breaking through the ink-black veil. It flickered like a dying flame, revealing mysterious inscriptions that seemed to warp and shift as if alive. Was this the same language that had whispered warnings? "I can't see anything," John muttered, squinting into the darkness. It felt as if unseen eyes were trained on them, observing with a predatory hunger. "Wait," Sarah thought, her mind racing. "What if they want us to read them?" She felt the pull of knowledge clawing at her, a mixture of curiosity and sheer terror. The urgency to understand was undeniable. "What?" Jess hissed, panic creeping back into her voice. "You can't be serious." "I have to try." Before she could lose her nerve, Sarah took a step toward the wall. The moment her fingertips brushed the cool stone, the room exploded with blinding light. Colors splashed against the walls, illuminating intricate symbols that began to pulse like a heartbeat. For a split second, all fear faded, replaced by awe as they stood witness to something ancient and beautiful. But the amazement shattered when the walls roared back to life, the voices now a cacophony of shouts and cries that filled their minds. It was as if the structure itself was protesting their intrusion. It's too much. John gasped, clutching his head. Make it stop. Sarah stumbled backward, overwhelmed by the chaos of sound and sight. Just when it felt like the noise would tear them apart, a voice emerged clear and commanding, slicing through the pandemonium. You seek what lies beneath, but must you pay the price? Her heart pounded. A choice? What price? The ancient civilization that had built this place was no mere footnote in history. They were alive, their essence woven into the very fabric of the pyramid. We didn't come to take, Sarah shouted, desperation clawing at her. We just want to understand. The energy shifted abruptly, the ground beneath them trembling once more, as if the pyramid itself was grumbling in discontent. The walls warped inwards, and just as swiftly, a figure, a being of pure light, materialized before them, towering and radiant, emanating a strange sense of authority and danger. Understanding comes with a cost. Are you prepared? The voice vibrated through the air, echoing deep within them until it felt like the very marrow of their bones was shaking. Every instinct screamed at them to turn and run, yet they were caught in the mesmerizing glow of the figure before them. As they stood at this crossroads, Sarah made a choice that could seal their fate. Whatever it is, we'll find a way, she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around. The astronauts shared glances, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. What had they unleashed? And what would the truth reveal about their own souls as they ventured deeper into the heart of darkness? As the being stared down at them, the air thickened, tension building. They could only wait, and wonder what the ominous answer would be. The air vibrated with a heavy silence after the being's question, as if the universe itself held its breath. The astronauts stood frozen, eyes locked on the luminous figure. It pulsated with authority, demanding their reverence and respect. No one spoke. The weight of decision loomed, and each second stretched onward, filling the chamber with an almost unbearable tension. What does that even mean? John finally blurted out, breaking the spell of silence. His face was pale, drenched in the eerie light. What kind of price? The being's luminescence flickered, as if considering his words. The knowledge you seek is intertwined with sacrifice. Just as light cannot exist without darkness, neither can enlightenment exist without regret. Sarah's heart raced. Regret? Sacrifice? What had they stumbled into? This was no ordinary exploration. It was a confrontation with something far greater. She felt a knot tightening in her stomach. I don't like this, Jess whispered, her voice trembling. We should go. Now. But as the words left her mouth, the walls reached out, the inscriptions shifting violently, like serpents evading capture. The energy in the room pulsed like a heartbeat, alive and insistent. No one leaves until the choice is made, the being intoned, its gaze piercing through each of them, unraveling their fears. Sarah felt herself stripped bare before it, her insecurities pulled into the light. Choose to know, and you may never return to who you were. What do we have to give? Sarah pressed, her resolve hardening despite the panic rising across her teammates' faces. The figure extended an arm, an ethereal hand that seemed to stretch both toward the depths of the earth and the infinity of the cosmos. You must offer a piece of your soulless essence, a memory entwined with your essence, each one unique, each one costing a fragment of your spirit. Wait, my essence. John held his breath, panic dawning. You're saying we'd lose parts of ourselves? Knowledge and power demand a price, the being replied, lowering its arm. The past holds you reveal a truth buried so deep within, and ease its shackles. An uneasy silence filled the chamber, as the words settled like stones in their hearts. Sarah exchanged frantic glances with Jess and John. Their memories, no matter how personal, were now commodities on the table. What if we refuse? Jess's voice quivered. You are free to leave, the being remarked, an unusual warmth in the coldness of its aura. But know this, The door to ignorance will close. No longer will you be able to seek understanding once you walk back into the darkness. The room spun, swirling in a cacophony of thoughts and fears. Sarah felt dizzy, heart racing as she flashed through her memories of childhood lost, stolen moments of triumph, the pain of heartbreaking loss. What could she bear to part with? "This is insane!" John shouted, his voice cracking. "We can't just throw away our past for knowledge that could doom us." Despite John's fears echoing in her head, the desire to uncover the truth burned within Sarah. It wasn't merely curiosity. It was a desperate hunger for understanding. She began before urgent emotion squeezed her throat. What would they do? Would they risk it all for the truth? As they grappling with their choices, cracks burst in the walls like splintering glass, light shining through like warnings. The being of light shimmered, its tone shifting to a tone of urgency. Make your choice, or risk a fate worse than ignorance. The walls trembled, a deep rumble coursing through the pyramid as if agitated by their indecision. With the fissures widening, Sarah felt hope and dread knotted together in her stomach. Do we take the leap, or do we falter and risk being trapped forever? As she and her teammates braced for a decision, a blinding flash erupted, engulfing the chamber in chaos. The lights dimmed, plunging them into darkness once again, and they were left teetering between history and oblivion. What awaited them on the other side of this threshold? The echoes of their choices whispered through the air, beckoning them forward into the unknown. Could they summon the courage to face the cost of understanding? The chamber shook violently as the blinding light enveloped them, raw energy coursing through every corner like the scream of 1,000 souls. Sarah felt her heart pounding in her ears, drowning out everything but the chaotic pulse of her fear. The ground quaked beneath their feet, and shadows flitted around, jagged and sinister, as if malevolent forces lurked just beyond visibility. "Where are we?" John's voice cut through the mist of terror and confusion. It echoed, strangely detached, in the suffocating darkness. "What is happening?" The luminous figure had vanished, and the space felt larger, more oppressive. With each breath, the air thickened, almost tasting metallic, a taste of fate. Jess clutched Sarah's arm, her grip tight enough to leave bruises. "I can't do this," she breathed, her voice breaking. "We have to go back." Suddenly, the cracks in the walls pulsed with light, fracturing the shadows around them. Each fissure revealed hazy images, swirling memories frozen in time, a childhood playground, glimmers of laughter, shadows of moments long forsaken. They danced like ghosts, whispering truths that clawed at the edges of her mind. "This is our essence," Sarah murmured, stepping closer to a gleaming shard of memory. "They want us to choose." Every image shimmered, weaving together the happiness they once had and the burdens they bore. Sarah felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her chest. This was no longer just about knowledge. It was about identity. Splinters of regret, joy, and sorrow flashed before her, each compelling her to make a choice. "Jess, John, we need to decide," she shouted, trying to break through the haze of panic. "We can't just stand here." "Decide what?" John's voice trembled with rage and fear. "What if it costs us everything? I won't lose any more pieces of myself. We'll lose ourselves anyway if we leave," Jess cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I refuse to believe we came all this way just to walk away." The walls moaned deeply, their sound like the wailing of lost souls. Sarah reached out, her fingers grazing the edge of one fragile memory, a winter's day in the snow, laughter frozen in time. For a brief moment, warmth radiated from it, and she seemed transported back to that moment, enveloped by innocence. But the echo of the being's words rang in her mind. To know is to sacrifice. What indeed was she willing to give up? "We can't let fear dictate our choices," Sarah shouted again, her voice cracking under the weight of determination. "If the price is memory, then I'll pay it. I want the truth. The wall shuddered violently, fissures expanding, the images flashing into overwhelming brightness that threatened to consume them. Don't! John screamed, panic rising in his throat. Wait! But it was too late. In one sudden surge, the darkness shattered. The brightness enveloped them like an avalanche, swallowing them whole as screams collided with the sound of crumbling walls. In an instant, the chaos was still. They stood on a platform made of shimmering light, suspended in the heart of a cosmic expanse. Stars pulsed like their hearts, but the being's presence faded, leaving only their oppressive silence. "Where are we?" Jess whispered, looking around at the endless void, the stars twinkling like watchful eyes. "I don't know," Sarah murmured, a chill crawling down her spine. A new dread settled in her heart. "But I think the hardest part is just beginning." As they braced themselves for whatever lay ahead, a familiar voice rippled through the silence, echoing from the depths of the dark. "Welcome back, you've just begun to pay the price." They turned, dread swelling in their guts, knowing that the journey ahead might reveal more than they had ever wanted to accept. What truths lurked in the interstellar darkness? And would they even return to the real world? A low hum vibrated beneath their feet, the ground pulsing with an eerie energy that resonated through them. Sarah squinted into the void, the stars shimmering like distant, judgmental eyes, each one waiting to unveil secrets buried deep within the cosmos. Jess and John stood beside her, their faces pale, reflecting the same mixture of fear and determination swirling in her chest. "Is this even real?" Jess's voice wavered as she glanced around, the vast expanse threatening to swallow her whole. "I can't breathe. It's too much." "We have to focus," John said, his eyes darting, searching for something in the abyss. "We can't let whatever this is get to us. We need a plan." A cold sweat dripped down Sarah's spine. The familiar voice echoed again, softer this time, yet it curled around her thoughts like a serpent. "You've opened the door, now you must walk through it." "What does that even mean?" she replied, a tremor creeping into her voice. Suddenly, shadows coalesced, swirling around them, forming shapes that seemed to pulse with life. The sights and sounds from the walls had transformed into something tangible, whispers of forgotten dreams, screams of lost ambitions, begging to be acknowledged. Her heart raced. Every dark figure tugged at her, urging her to remember, to confront. "They're trying to get into our heads," John said sharply, anger flickering in his gaze. "Don't listen to them." But it was too late. Sarah felt a surge, a gravitational pull toward a particularly dark shadow that loomed larger than the others. It was not just a memory, it felt alive, intimately familiar. It resembled her regrets, each line twisted and distorted, yet consuming her thoughts with a deep sense of longing. She closed her eyes, the pull igniting every nerve in her body. Images flooded her mind, her childhood home, the embrace of her mother, moments etched into warmth that seemed to dissipate into nothingness. "Sarah, don't let them take your heart," a voice whispered, a distant echo of her mother's caution. "Enough," Sarah shouted, forcing herself to open her eyes. "I won't let you control me." The shadows flickered with frustration, bending and writhing like smoke. In an icy instant, the whispers dulled into silence. The cosmic platform began to tremble, stars dimming as the presence of the dark figures grew more intense. "Watch out," Jess cried, grabbing Sarah's arm just as a surge of cold energy shot past like lightning. The platform shook violently, and they struggled to keep their balance. "Stand strong. Hold on to each other," John yelled, his voice a lifeline amid the chaos. As they tightened their grip, an unfamiliar voice sliced through the air with sharp clarity. "Each truth has its price." "What price?" Sarah shouted, defiance igniting her fear. "What are you asking of us?" The very fabric of the cosmic expanse quivered as the shadows gathered into a colossal form, resembling a twisted figure, barely human, cloaked in endless darkness. To embrace the light, you must first walk through the shadow of your past. With that, the darkness coiled closer, tendrils reaching out to intertwine with their fears and mistakes. Sweat dripped from Sarah's brow as the boundary between them and the dark figure began to dissolve. Clenching her fists, she felt a new rebellion boil within. No! We want to be your puppets. But as soon as the declaration left her lips, the void shifted. Stars spiraled, racing toward them like a cosmic tempest. The weight of their history became unbearable, the laughter mixed with pain, the joy covered in lost dreams, all blurring into an awful cacophony that threatened to drown them. Desperation surged, and with a mighty scream, Sarah sensed something within her break. We have to remember to move forward instead of looking back, the void responded. With a blinding flash, the shadows receded, leaving only the swirling galaxies behind. Each star flickered brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat, but the voice resonated. Still, the journey has just begun. You have much to uncover. They took in their surroundings, the sparkling cosmos breathing with possibility, but dread clawed at their insides. What shadows awaited them beyond the veil of truth? As they steeled themselves for what lay ahead, one question dominated their thoughts. Who or what would emerge from the dark corners of their past to confront them? A series of breaths echoed, their inhales colliding with an unsettling silence. The flickering stars above felt more like watchers than mere lights. Each pulse in the cosmos resonated with their beating hearts, urging them to move, yet the atmosphere wrapped around them like a cloak of heavy dread. "What now?" Sarah murmured, her voice small amid the vastness, trying to shake off the immobilizing fear. The uncertainty clawed at her insides, tightening like a vice grip. "We push forward. If we stand still, we'll be lost again," John replied, his resolve shining through the panic painted on his face. He looked to Jess, who was inching closer to him, fingers intertwined tightly. "Keep close. Whatever happens, we're together." Jess nodded, her eyes darting around, unable to shake the feeling that eyes, not distant stars, but something much closer, were watching them. As they took a tentative step into the unknown, the tempest around them calmed, revealing a spiral of light cascading from above, a swirling tunnel of colors they had never seen before. It hung heavily in the air between them, a choice wrapped in beauty and uncertainty. "What is that?" Sarah wondered aloud, the mesmerizing hues drawing her in. It felt like an invitation. "It looks like potential," Jess replied softly, the awe in her voice lifting the weight for just a moment. "But what does it mean? We can't just wander off into the unknown. We need to understand why we're here," John said, a sense of urgency creeping into his tone. He hesitated, then added, "But what if it's a way out? Or a way forward?" The swirling light pulsed, as if answering him, and the echoes of the dark figure's voice whispered one more time, "To embrace the light, you must first walk through the shadow of your past." Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them again, a violent quake that threatened to push them back into the shadowy clutches of regret. Sarah's heart raced. "We need to make a decision." With every beat, the colors of the light shifted, casting shadows that danced dangerously close to their feet. Jess took a step back, shaking her head, eyes wide with fear. "What if it's just another trap? We don't know what's on the other side. Staying here isn't an option either. We have to choose." "Trust yourself," John urged, his voice echoing with indecision, masking his resolve. Sarah felt a surge of courage. "No more running. We face this, not just the fears of our past, but whatever comes next," she said fiercely. The swirling colors shimmered in agreement, illuminating the darkness around them. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, beckoning Jess and John with her. "Come on." They moved together, the radiant beam pulling them in, every trembling step revealing faint memories buried deep within the scarred paths they had walked, the dreams twisted by fear. As they entered the light, An overwhelming sensation washed over them, amalgamations of emotions crashing like waves against their souls. Memories flickered by, laughter, pain, hope, sorrow, and love all swirling together like a cosmic dance. And then everything stopped. A sharp intake of breath shattered the silence as they found themselves on solid ground, an expansive, radiant chamber filled with glowing symbols that shifted and buzzed with life. Everywhere they looked, there were echoes of voices begging to be remembered. "Where are we?" Jess whispered, overwhelmed. But before anyone could answer, the ground began to shift again, and the air crackled with energy. A figure emerged from the shadows, emerging from the wisps of their memories. Its piercing gaze locked onto Sarah S. "Your past walks with you now," it declared, a voice like thunder trembling through the chamber. "Ready to face your greatest regret?" Sarah's heart pounded violently, as the weight of her choices loomed larger than the figure itself. The symbols around them started to lose their glow, blurring into patterns that felt achingly familiar. But she couldn't waver now. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, feeling the immense pressure of expectation weighing down on her. The figure smiled, revealing nothing but darkness. "To find the truth, you must first uncover your own." As shadows loomed close again, each step they took felt like a heartbeat merging with the past. Sarah felt the walls of her reality begin to bend once more. Heavy silence filled the space, but what awaited them beyond was yet to unfold. What truths would break free from their darkest corners? The chamber pulsed like a living organism, each thrum drenching Sarah, John, and Jess in a cold sweat. The shadows circled them, tightening their grip. Each breath felt like a battle against the suffocating weight of the figure's gaze. It was searching them, looking for cracks, vulnerabilities to exploit. "Face your greatest regret," the figure's voice echoed again, each word slicing through the heaviness. It felt impossibly familiar, yet laced with a bitterness that made her stomach churn. Sarah's mind flicked through memories, frantically searching for what the figure meant. Her past was a tangled web, each thread holding a story of decision, heartbreak, and choices that had led to this moment. What was she truly ashamed of? She could feel John's eyes on her, could sense his silent encouragement. Was it selfish to wish for his unwavering support, or did she owe him true honesty? Suddenly, glimmers in the patterns at her feet morphed into unmistakable images, a younger version of herself in a hospital room, the words "I can't" slipping from her lips as her mother held her hand, desperately searching for reassurance in her daughter's eyes. The weight of disappointment flooded back, a torrent breaking the dam of her composure. "It's not your fault," Jess whispered, her voice trembling but full of empathy. "We all make choices." "Do we?" Sarah shot back, her voice burning with emotion. "Some choices carry weight heavier than we can bear." The figure stepped closer, as shadows coiled around its form. "You reject the truth that is you," it rasped. "Only by confronting it can you hope to find release." "Release from what?" John interjected, voice steady but strained. The warmth of his presence radiated like a shield against the darkness. "Let us focus on how to move forward." But as the figure drew nearer, it extended a hand, showing Sarah the remnants of her past, the broken dreams, the unsaid apologies, the cries that went unheard. It was all there, hovering before her, begging to be acknowledged. "You look away," it said, its tone simulating sorrow. "Release comes when you face what you've tried to forget." Caught in the vortex of pain, surrender felt terrifying. "But I'm afraid of what it might demand of me," Sarah cried, her heart racing. "Fear is a choice, Sarah," the being said, tone low and deliberate, like thunder rolling in the distance. "You owe yourself this chance." As if in response, the patterns began to swirl faster, encroaching on them with chaos, a concrete reflection of her thoughts. Jess looked at Sarah, her eyes wide, urging her to grasp the fleeting moment. "What if this is how I move forward, but I lose everything?" Sarah's voice trembled within the chaos, Uncertainty draped over her like a shroud. "It's part of letting go," John said, stepping closer still with unwavering courage. "You'll gain clarity, even if what you uncover is overwhelming." The glowing symbols, now swirling with frenetic energy, reflected back the myriad of choices she had made. Some embraced, others regretted, a mirror showing both the light and the dark. It screamed for her to confront them, to let them breathe. With one final surge of courage, Sarah took a deep breath, closing her eyes, feeling the ground shifting beneath her. "All right," she whispered. "I'm ready to face it, whatever it is." In that moment, the figure's smile widened, revealing nothing but darkness, a promise that what lay ahead was monumental. "Then let us begin the unearthing," it thundered, and with a sudden eruption of energy, the chamber splintered as the symbols burst forth into blinding light, exploding into shards of brilliant color that danced and flickered around them like fireflies. And then, just as swiftly, they vanished, plunging them into a void. What awaited them on the other side? Would they unearth the truths to liberate themselves, or be swallowed by their darkest fears? The void seemed endless, swallowing them in an oppressive silence that tightened around their chests. For a moment, Sarah, Jess, and John floated weightlessly through the darkness, hearts racing as they braced for whatever reality awaited them. Every nerve end was set on fire, trembling in anticipation as if they had just crossed the threshold into another existence. Suddenly, the shadows coalesced, melding into outlines of memories they thought long buried. They stood before a reflection of their pasts, each element crazed with energy. It was a dance of anguish and regret, painting vibrant images of both lost moments and cherished ones. Sarah blinked, her heart pounding. There she was, a younger version of herself, staring back, holding her mother's hand in a cold hospital room. She could almost feel her mother's warmth radiating through. The sting of regret clawed at her throat, closing over like a vice. "Sarah!" Jess reached for her, reminding her of the connection woven between them. "This is your moment. You can do this." On the other side of the veil, John stepped forward. "Don't let it trap you." His voice cut through the whirlwind of emotions, giving her strength amid the turmoil. "You control it. Let your past know it does not own you." With that encouragement, Sarah lifted her chin, staring into the depths of her memories. Shadows swirled around them, screaming fears and burdens turning into tangled chains that held her captive. Was she ready to break free? "Fear is a choice," whispered the dark figure as it emerged once more, its presence both ominous and familiar. "You must choose to step into the truth." Sarah's heart raced, and she took a deep breath. "I am not afraid anymore," she shouted, feeling the energy crackle and pulse with defiance. "Bring it on!" In a climactic twist, the chamber erupted in dazzling light, flooding their surroundings with an otherworldly glow. The weight of the memories began to lift, dissipating into glimmering fragments that floated like stars around them. The doors to despair swung wide, and amidst the chaos emerged clarity and unity. Suddenly, Sarah felt surrounded by not just her memories, but the collective ones of Jess and John too. Each fragment embraced them all. Rising tensions transformed into vibrant colors, brilliant reds of passion, soothing blues of acceptance, and glowing yellows of joy. "This is who we are," Sarah said, voice steady. "Not defined by our regrets, but by our strength to rise above them." With a thunderous pulse, the chamber shook, rippling with energy as the whispers around them transformed into a harmonious chorus. Their combined essence empowered them, and answers flowed like a river, cascading truths that unveiled the hidden layers of their identities. Together, John said, his grip on Jess and Sarah tightening, "We can face anything." And with that, they surged forward, breaking through the darkness with hands clasped tightly, hearts ablaze with newfound courage. The world reformed around them, vibrant with the explosion of light and energy. They felt their feet touch solid ground once more, The oppressive chamber had transformed into a vast expanse of shimmering stars. Each flicker held a piece of their journey. They had faced the shadows, and now they were standing in the light. As the warmth enveloped them, the entity spoke again, its voice a distant echo. You are reborn in understanding, but remember, the journey does not end here. There is more to explore, more to uncover. With gratitude filling their hearts, the astronauts turned to one another. They were no longer alone in their pasts. They were a unified front, ready to face any challenge ahead. Let us go home, Sarah said softly, a smile breaking through the tension that had once held them captive. But first, let us find out what else awaits us among the stars. And so, hand in hand, they stepped into the infinite cosmos, a universe filled with potential and promise, each heartbeat echoing the resilience built in the face of fear. With eyes bright and spirits soaring, they ventured forth into the light, ready for a new tomorrow. Now, it's your turn to join this journey. You need to subscribe immediately, so you don't miss more epic adventures. Smash that like button now to show your support and feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions, theories, and personal insights about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Your support matters, and it's time to unite as a true community.